Conversations. My name is Ainav Avni, and I use the emotion code, body code, and belief code to work with people suffering from chronic pain or illnesses. This podcast, Healing Conversations for Anything Chronic, is all about spreading the word that natural healing is possible. And on this note, let me welcome to the studio today Dr. Reese, Dr. Kevin Reese. Very nice to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. So before we get started, let me read your bio so that everyone is on the same page as us.
Hmm.
So here goes. So Kevin Reese, Dr. Kevin Reese, has helped thousands of people reclaim their health through his books, seminars, and programs. Before becoming a known authority in holistic health, Dr. Reese was an unhealthy radio personality for CBS, where he interviewed celebrities, hosted concerts, and was known as a shock jock. After becoming chronically sick and ending up on heart monitors at only 28 years old, he transformed himself through the path of natural health and meditation. After 16 years career in multimedia, his new passion for health motivated him to exit and earn a PhD. His remarkable transformative story has garnered much media attention over the last 10 years. In 2019, Dr. Reese made his return to the airwaves with his new podcast, Inner Peace with Dr. Reese, which was inspired by his own spiritual awakenings. Following a decade working with sick clients, authoring 6 books, and being invited to speak at various venues, Dr. Reese has become a nutritious and controversial figure in holistic health. In 2021, Kevin opened the Peace Over Pain clinic, one of the first virtual clinics in the world, which helps people correct chronic conditions. Full stop. With that came his 6 books of the same name. He has gone viral on social media many times with his controversial videos speaking out against the medical monopoly. Here we go. So, Dr. Reese, let's
Hmm.
get started. So, with this bio, I'm very excited that now we're all on the same page.
Hmm.
My first question, I guess I have so many questions, but yeah, I was thinking really the first question that comes to my mind is why is the controversy? What is going on? Why are people so outraged by your methods?
Well, I don't really know.
Fair.
I can guess. I have the most results ever on video in the history of cameras. And that proof makes me a target.
Mm.
And and then I'm speaking out about the medical system and kind of lifting the curtain on that. So there's 2 layers right there of uh, get this guy out of here.
Right. So I guess we're going to circle back to that a little bit later on. It is always interesting, also for me in the things that I do, that keep coming across this idea that people trusting so blindly in the medical profession,
Hmm.
Western medicine, and it does take some time for them to accept that there are other ways.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
Um,
then when you show it on video, it adds a whole nother layer to it because anyone can talk.
yeah.
Not everyone can show.
So let's go back a few steps, and we read in your bio. So you suffered from chronic conditions yourself around age 28.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was just probably the same thing you went through. All healers go through it. They have to fix themselves first. And at 28 years old, I was a radio and television guy, and I just found myself at the doorstep of the medical monopoly and realized that it was rigged. It was a scam.
And how did you realize that?
They did a million tests, and there was no results. So I realized that they were getting paid off these machines, these these $3 million MRI machines, and like they need a return on investment,
Hmm.
you know, and I wasn't getting any results. So I just came to the realization that all they really do is diagnose, and then they leave people in darkness.
I think it's a really good point, actually. People, yes, I didn't think about it in this way myself, actually, but yes, people do. It's exactly right. They get the diagnosis and then they get panic and they think, now what do I do with it? But most of the times there are no answers.
That's right. So
And
I just, being a curious person, an intelligent person, a leader, I just started researching, and you know, by the time I was 30, I was all healed up. And then I became passionate, and I quit a whole career to go into a whole new career,
mhm.
which is rare. Um, when you're successful at something, it's rare. And I did that at about 30 years old, and off I went. And then it took 12 more years to become popular. So it's a long journey, a long journey.
When you were on the years that you were not feeling so well, did you look back and at your lifestyle and beliefs and things that were part of your past and realize that made the connection that maybe that was all a part of it?
Yeah, yeah. I realized that what I was eating was no good, and staying up late was no good, and I just, yeah, the light went off. I realized and turned it around.
And so the way that you healed yourself, was that really changing your diets, changing your habits, lifestyle, and seeing the results? Was that like a straight away kind of noticing the results, or
Oh
was it?
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And once the light goes off, there's no stopping. Yeah.
yeah. And then what? So you like you say, it took 12 years, but what happened in these first 12 years?
I went to a whole bunch of different schools, and I started taking on clients, and eventually decided that I wanted to be taken even more serious. So I enrolled to go get a PhD. I chose a PhD because I felt at my heart, I was a teacher.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I went through it because I was detoxing people. So I've seen a lot of stuff, from worms and rashes, and the whole movement of detox and cleansing. And then in 2018, I basically quit. I took some time off, and readjusted my teachings and readjusted everything. And when I came back in 2022, I went viral and became famous, so to speak.
What was in your methods that was, that attracted the people? What is it that you were doing that helped them see the results, that later on you were able to say that you have the most results on video?
Yeah. Well, I developed a new brand of healthcare, I guess you can say. I call it head to toe healing.
Hmm.
And what that means is you have to go after the entire body. So it doesn't matter what you have. It's actually quite irrelevant. If you have tinnitus, you go after it the same way you have a bunion. If you have a bunion, you go after it the same way you have a migraine. If you have a migraine, you go after it the same way you have knee pain. If you have knee pain, you go after it the same way that you have Crohn's disease. It doesn't matter. Everything is the same because the body is a unit and it's all connected. So,
Can you explain a little bit more about that? How would I mean? Obviously, what you're saying is very different to what people are used to, right? I mean, they're definitely used to going to the doctors, getting the diagnosis, and now they're treating it very specifically. It's very, zoomed in kind of approach.
well, it's funny you say that. I use that term all the time. With head to toe healing, we zoom out
Yeah.
and we look at the body as a whole unit. And so when you look at the body as a whole unit, the first thing you're probably going to recognize is that you have a lot of muscles.
Hmm.
You have about 600 muscles. So when these muscles get out of alignment, they start fighting with each other and they start compensating. And then what that does is it moves your bones into different positions. So muscles move bones. And that understanding is very big. And so that's your structure. That's your body. That's the vehicle you walk around Earth with. But then you have to put fuel in the vehicle. And that fuel is what we call nutrition. And that's what the blood delivery system does. It moves around nutrients. So then when you learn about the fuel and you learn about the 90 essential nutrients, you learn about the 60 minerals, all the vitamins, all the aminos, all that, it starts to make sense. And then you realize that there's other foods that block it. So even if you're eating good, so to speak, but if you're just eating the wrong foods, it's going to block. So now the nutrients can't even get through because your gut isn't absorbing, right? And then on top of all of that, inside the vehicle, you have an onboard computer. And we call that the brain, and that's inside of our skull. And this computer is hooked up to two cameras, which we call eyes, and it's hooked up to a switchboard called a spine. And so what you think and what you feel actually goes through the spine, and it's dispersed through the nerves throughout the whole body. So if somebody has a pain in their left foot, it's going to come down to one of the three. It's either going to be the structure, aka the vehicle, the nutrition, or it's going to be coming from the computer.
Hmm.
But either way, we're going to go after it the same. We're going to go after all three. We're going to go after all three. And so I teach my people, don't focus on the pain in the foot. It's a whole body effort. And if you do what you're supposed to do at a macro level, at a zoomed out level,
Mm.
it's going to heal.
So I that is interesting, but is it always the same way, or now does it matter where the pain is? I guess you're gonna say no because you said you treat everything the same way. But is it really a one answer to all of them? As soon as you are looking at all three
Yeah,
parts.
pretty much. And, I have a membership, and in there, we do have protocols for specific things. In the event somebody has something that's urgent that they want to take care of, for example, kidney stones or SIBO or candida or something like that, you might want to nip that in the bud right away before you get to the whole head to toe healing. But, you know, it's still essentially the same thing. It's just some people come into the door from different angles. But for the most part, um, it's getting the people to believe in this concept. And then the testimonies are developed and we catch them all on camera.
Yeah.
And, maybe there's someone out there with more, or maybe 5,000 years ago, somebody had 1,000,000 healings, but I have them on camera,
Yeah.
which is unusual. And so that's my little claim to fame.
Well, it's a good one actually. But so people that they have feel the symptoms, will they come to you? I mean, will they just get the protocol and start using it, or is there actually a connection with you? Is it a one-to-one in some way, or how does that work?
I no longer work with people one-on-one because I get death threats and people are trying to
Yeah.
kill me and trying to get rid of me.
Oh, is that the back to the beginning of the conversation about
Yeah.
the?
Yeah. So we have a membership now.
Mhm.
And what that does is it provides insulation for me so that my work is recorded, if you will. And then people do what they want with it. It's self-directed. And then I have a team of health coaches that play a support system.
Mhm.
So by doing this, I am not practicing.
How does that feel to to have these external sources actually interfere in a way with a good thing that you're bringing to the world?
It's an honor.
Fair. And tell me, so I saw on your website there is something about the analysis that you do, or that your team is doing, before people are starting to work with you. Is that outside of the membership? Is that how what does that do? How does that work?
Yeah, the analysis is before the membership, and I evaluate people's bodies and their nutritional profile, their mental health, all that, and I send them back about a 10-minute video that they have for life. And that really gives them a roadmap. That tells them what's wrong with them from a head to toe level. And just as an example, um, I could see a bunion coming 5 years before it hits. Uh, they may not even know what a bunion is.
Hmm.
You know, so there's a preventative factor there as well. Um, Perhaps there's a herniated disc or a bulging disc or whatever, or maybe they suffer from chronic migraines, but they didn't know that their neck was falling off onto their chest. And they've been to the medical monopoly 1,000,000 times, and they go around and around and around, and they're in darkness. And all of a sudden I come around, I give them the answer, the light goes off in their head, and they're not in darkness anymore. Now they have light.
So you don't necessarily ask them where the pain is or anything. You really just look at the body posture and stuff, and from that you're able to
Yeah,
just.
there's a little checklist that they can do that tells me where the pain is, and I just connect the dots.
Mm.
And I look at that information after I evaluate the body, which is always fun. It's always interesting because it challenges me to find the problem before I know the problem. So if I see someone with a flat back, for example, like their lumbar is just super straight, I might be like, I'm willing to bet you got back pain or sciatic pain or something. And then, 5 minutes later, I get to their form and it says lower back pain. And I'm like, aha, you know,
Right.
I like to challenge myself and stay fresh. It's like a sport.
Yeah, it's fun, right? But how so you mentioned bunions or sciatica, so it's, I guess it's the same thing for cancers, arthritis, MS, all of these big names. That would
Mhm.
be for you. It's exactly the same thing. It doesn't really
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all the same thing. I mean, every now and again, someone's too far gone. And that's typically someone in their 70s that's been just totally scammed by the medical system.
Mm.
and they're on 15, 20, 25 drugs.
Yikes.
And by the time you're at that point, there's not much that I can do for you because you're now reliant on the medical system. They have now made them reliant on them, and it's very hard to help someone like that. But I did have one woman like almost 10 years ago. I helped her get off 16 meds. So that's probably the most I ever dealt with. But most people, it's very. But she was younger too. She was like 40.
Mm.
She was going down the wrong path. I mean, if she didn't believe in me, like if she just said this guy's a quack, screw him, she might not even be alive right now. Who knows?
So last week I had a guest on my podcast, and he was saying that all conditions, he really believes that all chronic conditions start in the gut. And of course, you're looking at nutrition as well, but is it the gut, or is it really the movement of the muscles and the bones for you? What is the first thing?
All chronic conditions do not come from the gut. That's ridiculous.
Okay.
You think tinnitus comes from the gut? Or a bunion? A herniated disc? No. It's not even possible. It's not possible. Do a lot of chronic conditions come from the gut? Yes. Absolutely, especially autoimmune.
Mm-hmm.
Because the gut is leaking, then the proteins in the food is going to go back into the bloodstream. This is what we call dirty blood. And then the body is going to attack those proteins like it's an enemy, and that's called autoimmune. And then depending on where the autoimmune is happening, it's just localized. So if it's
Mm-hmm.
up here, you got a thyroid problem. If it's up here, maybe it becomes MS. If it's in your joints, rheumatoid arthritis. So it just depends on the location. If it's the whole body, they call that lupus. So autoimmune most certainly comes from the gut, and a lot of problems come from the gut. But we have to remember, that's like saying all your car's issues come from the engine.
Right.
Well, what about rust?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't come from the engine. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So, what about the tire? What about the misalignment of the four tires? Did it come from the engine? No. So, when we zoom out and we look at the body as a whole unit, you can see that the way I've broken it down makes the most sense. Your body is a vehicle, it needs fuel, and it has a computer. Simple. It couldn't be any more simple. So every chronic condition that you have is going to be one of the three or a combination.
Mm-hmm.
So a bunion, since we love talking about bunions today,
Yeah.
a bunion could be a combination. It could be your hips are out of alignment, so you're walking funny. And every time you walk, well, I got a foot right here. So every time you walk, you're pushing on that toe. And so eventually the muscles just give up, and the toe comes in, and the joint starts to inflame.
Mm-hmm.
But nutrition is also involved because perhaps you don't have enough nutrients for hard tissue. And so the hard tissue is giving way.
Mm-hmm.
And then your mind could be at play because perhaps your grandmother had a bunion. So in your mind, you're just, it's genetic. And then, what you think can become reality. It's called manifesting. So all three are at play.
I was gonna get to the mind in a second, but at first I wanted to say, okay, so someone comes along, you say, they send you pictures of the body. I saw people showing the back and feet and stuff like that, and you're able to make an initial analysis of the movements of the bones and the muscles.
Yep.
Then you ask them, or you look at the forms for the nutrition, and then you're able to already identify some things. Is it always the same things that are wrong? I mean, is it the same for me and you if we were both looking at something?
Yeah, yeah. The pelvis is a major factor. The pelvis is to the musculoskeletal system what the gut is to nutrition.
Right.
So I usually look at the pelvis first because that's going to tell me what's going on below the body and above the body. It is your core. It is the base. We're sitting on it right now,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's not good. It's not good. If you look at how you're sitting right now, you and me, it is not good for the body. That's why when you get on the toilet, you're only supposed to be there for a few minutes.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to hang out for an hour, you know? You
Right.
know, this is not a normal position to be sitting in 90 degrees,
Yeah.
right? We're meant to walk and run and climb, you know. So, yeah, the pelvis is a really big deal. It is probably the missing link to health from an overall level. Everyone wants to talk about the gut, but the gut is obvious. The pelvis is not obvious.
Mm. So people that have no conditions, no pain or anything like that, would you say that their pelvis is aligned, is in the right place, or is it just something that might come? Might actually, you mentioned that you can predict things that they don't know about yet.
Yeah, pretty much any adult is going to have a messed up pelvis.
Mm.
It tilts forward and it tilts backward. You know, most people it's tilting backward. This is called a posterior pelvic tilt. If it's forward, it's an interior pelvic tilt. And you can tell by the spine because whatever position it's tilted is going to dictate the spine alignment. It's a
Mm.
really big deal. And that is going to determine where your head is,
Yeah.
you know, and, you know, we have an epidemic. I can't speak for other countries, but I know in America, we have an epidemic of brain conditions. And, you know, going back to my head to toe healing philosophy, it's kind of a perfect storm of misalignment of the vehicle, lack of nutrition, gut issues, you know, mindfulness issues, all this. And we just, man, it's really bad. I think it's the biggest epidemic that humans have right now. You got too many people with autism. You have too many people with dementia. You have too many people with Parkinson's. And our society is going to collapse if you have people with brain conditions. Even someone in a wheelchair can still be a productive member of society. But
Hmm.
if you have a brain condition, you're done. You're not a member of society anymore. You're not a productive member of society. Now someone needs to take care of you.
Right.
And so the pelvis is at play here, right? So now we're back to the pelvis because if the pelvis is in a bad position, that can make the head go into a bad position. And if the head is in a bad position, which is really the neck, aka the cervical spine, you can't drain fluid properly from your head. And furthermore, you're not going to get blood and oxygen to the brain, the eyes, the ears, and the nose like you want it to because your muscles in the position of your spine is blocking it. And so it's all connected and it's fun. And this just happened yesterday. You know, we go live every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, and you know, people are all in the Zoom room, and you know, the light bulbs are going off because new people are being introduced to me every day because social media is just growing and growing and growing. So it's, you know, the light bulb just goes off like, oh my gosh, it's all connected. Why didn't anyone tell me? And the medical system doesn't know because they have specialists. The
Mm.
specialists are the worst thing that could have ever happened. Like if you have a gut issue, you don't want to go to a GI doctor. if you
Mm.
if you have a brain issue, you don't want to go to the brain doctor or the neurologist. You don't. All they're going to do is diagnose you and then set you up with drugs or surgeries. That's it. So you're going nowhere. You're going nowhere. It's a dead end.
Mm.
And so my message is let's stop this nonsense and let's get to the head to toe stuff. Let's get to the healing because we're in trouble. We're in big trouble.
Yeah. So you're saying the pelvis is one thing that is across the board. We all, sensitive or out of alignment for all of us in the way that we carry ourselves.
Yep.
And then you look at the nutrition, but would, when you come to correct the nutrition, would it also be one size fits all, or is it now coming to the individual person with the individual setups?
It's it's pretty much one size fits all. You got to get off what I call the poor four foods. That's gluten, that's oils, that's fried, that's fake. Gluten, oil, fried, and fake. Gluten, oil, fried, and fake. You get off those four foods. You never eat them ever again. You make sure that you adopt the mindset that you're allergic to them. You just stop.
Right.
And because if a doctor told you that you were allergic to a tomato, you'd never have a tomato ever again. You wouldn't because
Yeah.
the mindset. Okay.
Mm.
So you get off those four food groups and supplement. You supplement your butt off because supplementation is a technological advancement that we have that can help us, like air condition. Like who wants to sit, if you live in Florida or Costa Rica or something, yeah, I'm pretty sure you want air conditioning. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
it's a technological advancement that actually helps your life. And supplements are the same thing. So getting on the proper supplements, getting off the bad foods, that's the 1-2 punch with diet. If somebody's in really bad shape, we might have to strip the diet down more. It just depends. We had a woman who was having trouble with blood pressure and her hormones, and our normal dietary advice wasn't working. So I had to strip the diet down. So we stripped it bad. I was just like, can you do 60 days?
mm.
She did, and she is now off blood pressure meds, and she's off all her HRT, all her hormone replacement, and now she's like, can I go back to eating regular? I feel like I've been eating dog food for 60 days, you know. And again, this is on video.
Yeah. So let's just say the four foods you said: gluten, fake,
Yeah, gluten, oils,
oils,
fried and fake.
fried and fake.
And allow me to interview myself for just 1 minute here because I know what everyone's thinking.
Yeah.
Because I see the comments on all my social media. Everyone has trouble with the oils.
Hmm.
And they're like, why oils? The reason is there's nothing wrong with the oil itself. It's that it's being exposed to the air. It's
Right.
fat juice. So it's not a whole food. It is being exposed to the air and it is oxidizing. And so if you don't actually juice the olive and use the oil within 10 minutes, it's going to oxidize and that's going to create free radical damage in your body. And this is what causes heart disease. And this is what causes what I call the sea monster, which you can guess what that is. And
I
so
do imagine.
this is the rust on the car. And that happens inside your body. And so we want to stay away from oils. As much as people want to give me the old Mediterranean diet spiel and, the Greeks and the Italians and blah, 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 it's not worth the risk. It's not. You can live on, you're better off not rusting, right? And
Mm.
so if you want fat, Eat fat and don't eat fat juice. Eat fat. You want olives? Eat olives. Don't take olive juice.
Mm.
No.
But then I guess the fried comes with the oil, right? It's a
Yeah, fried is just a dramatic version of oils.
yeah,
Although you could fry butter too.
yeah,
Essentially what it is fat is either your friend or your enemy. If you overcook fat, it becomes your enemy. If you
right.
eat fat when it's not overcooked, it's your friend. Even something wholesome like an avocado, it's great. If you were to fry an avocado, it becomes a weapon of mass destruction. That's just the way the chemistry is. If you overcook fats, you're asking for cancer.
Mhm. That's interesting. Um, so I am curious, of course, what what can you eat? But I guess, like you say, whole foods and
Anything
basically,
you want,
and you,
anything you
and,
want, as long as it's not gluten, oils, fried or fake.
yeah,
So really allow me to give you the cheat code. It comes down to this really. Fruits, vegetables, meat, eggs, fish. Just make sure none of it is overcooked. That's all.
mm.
It's easy. And
I,
you might
I,
be happy to know that potatoes a vegetable because we all love potatoes, right?
yeah, and at this point, I'll take anything.
Yeah. Just don't make it into a French fry.
Yeah,
Just have mashed potatoes or you know, boiled potatoes, steamed potatoes, what have you. Use spices to use butter. Butter is great as long as it's not overcooked. You melt
so
some butter.
dairy is okay.
Dairy's fine. Some people don't get along with it, but as long as you get along with it, dairy's fine.
Yeah,
We've been eating dairy for thousands of years.
yeah,
There's and I understand the vegan movement. They don't like to hear that. And I was vegan at one point. So I come from uh, a very unique perspective of that.
mm,
But there's nothing wrong with dairy unless you're sensitive to it.
yeah. So let's move on to the mind. That's the last part of the
My
three
favorite.
parts.
My
Yeah.
favorite.
So where do we go with that? Where do we start actually?
Well, it's the hardest. It's the hardest of the three
Yeah,
because people are programmed and they're stuck in their belief systems. By the time you're 13 years old, you're programmed.
yeah, yeah.
You're programmed. You have an ego. You um, don't want to be controlled, even though you're being controlled by the government. But you don't want to be controlled by mom and dad and by your teachers, which is all very ironic because you're going to be controlled no matter how you look at it
Yeah.
because you're stuck in programming. And so inside your computer, you have a hard drive that we call memory. You also have a database, a second hard drive that's even deeper, and that's called the subconscious mind.
Hmm.
And the subconscious mind is where your programming lives. So, for example, if you bite your nails, that's in the subconscious mind. The other day I was driving and you're at a stoplight and you're just sitting there and somebody came by and they were biting their nails while they were driving. And I'm like, well, here it's automatic. They're not even consciously going, oh, I would love to bite my nails right now. They're just it's just flat out habit. It's programming.
Yeah.
People that swear a lot or people that use certain words it's all programming, all inside the subconscious mind. And your beliefs are there. The people that are out to get me are stuck in their beliefs because they think that the medical system is okay
Mm.
because they've been programmed by the television shows and by the fact that when you were in kindergarten, you needed to get a doctor's note to get out of class or something.
Yeah.
It's, oh, the doctor, the doctor, the doctor. I need my doctor. Where's my doctor? And they've been programmed to think that they are a car and the doctor is a mechanic. And it's not the case. It's not true. It is an illusion. And the subconscious mind has a hard time breaking these things. And so I teach my people to deprogram. And then once you're deprogrammed, then you reprogram. Deprogramming is harder than reprogramming.
Yes, I
And
definitely.
this is right up your alley.
This is really absolutely. This is exactly it. I mean, even I mean, because I call myself an alignment coach and energy healer, and with the alignment is definitely about really understanding the subconscious mind and the conditionings and the all of that. But I think what I'm curious here is basically what I'm understanding is that you're looking at the body first, right? The muscles and the bones. Then you're looking at the nutrition, and then you're looking at where the limiting beliefs are holding you back, right? Where
Yeah.
you telling yourself that you can't heal because the
Yes.
doctors haven't, confirmed it or gave a stamp of approval or something.
Yep. And sometimes we get people who they get really upset because they're not healing all the way. So we count symptoms on our analysis. So let's just say we did an analysis on um, some guy named Joe, and Joe has 37 symptoms.
Hmm.
So we want to bring that 37 down to a 27, and then bring that 27 down to a 17, eventually get him down to a 7. His life is significantly better at a 7 than it was at a 37. However, perhaps there's one symptom in that 7 that really bothers him. Let's just say it's tinnitus. Who wants to live with tinnitus with a ringing in your ear? Nobody. That's torturous, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he he may get really frustrated. Like, I've been doing everything Dr. Reese is saying. I've been doing this, and it's been 6 months, and I still have my tinnitus, and this sucks, and da 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 da. Now he's stuck in victim oriented thinking, his subconscious mind, which I have nicknamed the inner child,
Right.
is now it's now ranting and raving. It's now having a temper tantrum, and that is going to actually slow down the healing.
So in your head to toe, you're bringing all three. You're looking at all three parts together, a tandem. It's all, it's part of the same. It's you don't necessarily separate them, although you might, like you said earlier, you might mix and match to accelerate things if it's urgent. But because I know what I know about, the way that I work with the mind and the subconscious mind and all of that, I do know that yeah, that can take a little bit longer to actually untangle, to help people, like you said, to deprogram and reprogram.
Yeah,
How do you do that? What does that look like?
I I teach my people to nurture their inner child. I teach them that every thought that they have that's typically about, say, 5 seconds or more is just their inner child.
Hmm.
If you have a thought that's, say, 2 seconds or 3 seconds, it's probably the executor of your computer. It's the boss saying, "Hey, you got to brush your teeth." Hey, take a left up here at the stop sign. Take a left. You know, there's that's just the computer operating. But when you start dreaming
Hmm.
and you're stuck in dream, well, it can either be a Santa Claus dream or it can be a Michael Myers dream. And that's how I explain it in my book, Peace Over Pain. I'd rather have Santa Claus thoughts than Michael Myers thoughts. But at the end of the day, they're both characters and they're both not real. So the inner child is going to go in all sorts of different directions. And it's really important to understand that it just needs to be nurtured. And the more you nurture it, the more you calm it down, and the more it starts working for you. You want your subconscious mind to work for you, not against you.
Absolutely.
And you want it to heal you.
Yeah.
And you can heal others too. I do it all the time. It just takes time. It takes time. But if I were to go into my inner child and go into my subconscious mind, and I had a list of all the people in my membership, I could go through them and help them heal
In
without even being in the same room.
in what way? How, what would that look like? And also, do you, or why don't you, or can I?
I do. I do when I can. It's really time consuming because you figure every person's going to take about 3 minutes or so. And so you got 500 members, 500 times 3 minutes or so. It's a lot. But
Yeah,
anyone you come across, you can help them heal by tapping into your subconscious mind because they are in your vicinity. So you and I are in the same vicinity right now, just through technology. And then I have my marketing director Levi over here, 3 feet away. So I can actually uh, impact the two of you in a positive way,
hmm,
um, just by being present. And it's a very powerful thing. It's
absolutely, absolutely. Something I was thinking something, and it disappeared from my mind. So it will come back when the time is right, I imagine.
well, that
Um,
happens when you're around me sometimes. I forget.
so sometimes I saw also in the testimonials, but so someone comes along and they do the membership, right? They send the pictures, you do the analysis, they get into the membership. How long will they expect to start seeing changes?
Oh man. I mean, we had a woman on last night who has so much progress. Levi's probably going to edit it today and it'll go into the catalog, but man, her gray hair was going away. What else, Levi? What else did she? Was it her pain?
Yeah, I believe she was going. She had tinnitus.
Oh, it was tinnitus. It was ringing in the ear, and it was quick. 2 months. 2 months.
Yeah.
2 months. Yeah. It's hard for me to keep up. There's so many. It's hard to keep up, and
Mm.
that's like such a blessing. That's such an amazing thing, and I don't know. Like, it's just really cool.
So the way that you healed yourself, is that also, are these the foundations for what you're doing now?
Not really. When I healed myself, it was just flat out nutrition. I detoxed myself, lost a bunch of weight, and I did a lot of meditation back then. I was just learning how to do it.
Mm.
But, the structural issues came later. My hands started to cramp up because I'm a computer athlete. I've been at the computer for 25 years doing this. And, I had so many problems in my late 30s. And this is after I was a practitioner,
Mm.
practitioners break down too,
Yeah.
and that's when I found, that's when I started studying the musculoskeletal system, and that's when the last piece came to me. I already knew the nutrition and mindfulness training. It was the musculoskeletal system that really made it come together, because man, I saw people getting out of wheelchairs and I'm like, you didn't change your diet at all? They're like, no. I'm like, what? There's something here. So I had to really study everything, and then I brought it all together. It's kind of it's like a kitchen sink type of mentality.
Mhm.
Just throw the kitchen sink at it. Like,
Just
and
try anything and everything until you
yeah,
realize that it's working.
yeah. But I'm not going to call it the kitchen sink method.
Yeah.
So one day, I'll tell you this story real quick. I was, I was presenting myself as a holistic doctor. And I just noticed that so many people didn't know what the word holistic meant. And, like they would be like, hey, try this supplement. It's holistic. No, I think you mean to say natural. Holistic means whole body, right? So I was like, all right, this holistic thing it isn't working. And then, once I was really getting attacked, one of the big attacks is people saying that I'm not a doctor,
Mm.
right? Because I'm working on people's health and their bodies, but I have a PhD and not an MD. So it throws some people off. So I said, all right, well, I'm a fake doctor. It's fine. I'll be a fake doctor. So now I call me a fake doctor. But that's when I said, well, wait a second. I think I was on the phone with someone and I just said, no, you got to heal from head to toe. That's, and it just hit me. Like, I like that, head to toe. Like, I think people can understand that. Brain to bunions, right? And I said, I think more people can understand head to toe than holistic. And then I said, well, I probably shouldn't call myself a doctor anymore because they're targeting me. Healer. There's another H. Okay. Head to toe healing, or head to toe healer.
Mm.
So I said, well, that's it. So then I trademarked my name so they can't take the doctor away. So Dr. Reese is just a stage name at this point, like Dr. Dre. And head to toe healing is the message and the trade. So I've kind of, out of necessity, have created a new title, if you will.
Yeah.
Just like somebody had to come up with a sound healer or a masseuse or an acupuncturist. So I came up with a head to toe healer. And so I want to train people when I have time. I want to train people to be head to toe healers, to know what I know. Because if I don't pass it on, then it's just selfish, and just let people go with it and see what they can do with it, and get their own clients, because they're not going to get attacked. I'm the one that's going to get attacked because I'm the one with the following.
Yeah.
But if I can bring people into my following and then disperse them out to other healers,
Yeah, that's the goal.
I'm not the one that's taking on responsibility. I'm not the one with the contract.
So I want to ask, what is one story of all of the success stories that you have? What is one story that really touched you when you realized the healing that someone went through?
There's so many. I mean, the one with Kim Wiggins really stands out because she had a tumor that was blocking the birth canal, and she's pregnant, and they told her that she's going to die giving birth. And so we had to act quick, and she, the tumor disappeared, and she had her baby, and her baby is now 11 years old.
So in this case, for example, I imagine this would be one of the urgent ones.
Yeah,
What do you start with? Is it the
nutrition, always.
nutrition? Always
Yeah,
nutrition.
yeah, for sure. And that, obviously, that's a long time ago. And yeah, it's just, every time we put that video out, it does really well. So it must, it just pulls on people's heartstrings. She
Yeah.
thought, she was told she was going to die at childbirth, and her first reaction is like, am I going to have time to hold my baby?
Mhm.
So, but there's so many. I mean, there's so many. Um, from one guy who loves to dance, and he goes to country dances, and he had so much hip pain he couldn't dance anymore, and then just a few months with me and he's out there dancing and he's just so happy. It's subtle. Angelo, who um, said he felt so much pain when he went down to tie his shoe, and now he doesn't have pain when he ties his shoe anymore. This is subtle. It's
Mhm.
just subtle stuff that nobody talks about because we're so obsessed with the disease name. We're obsessed with fibromyalgia, osteoporosis. I mean, these sound like monsters,
Mhm.
and they don't have to be monsters. They're not monsters. It's just your body malfunctioning because you've been mistreating it, and nobody taught you how to do it. Nobody taught you how to take care of the vehicle, the one vehicle that you get, and that's all I'm doing is I'm guiding people and teaching people how to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Because I can't do it anymore. I can't take appointments, nothing.
But I guess what you're saying is that because you understand the three parts, and it's really, it doesn't have to be just the people who are already suffering with pain or conditions. It's actually also preventative, right? People can. It's not a bad idea to go and check it out before you start suffering from all these things, especially if you're saying that the pelvis is such a troublemaker.
The goal of every adult that is into my work is to cancel your doctor. Period. So you never have to go to your doctor ever again. Never. Zero. You don't even need one. You only go to medical path when you have an emergency or something urgent, a catastrophe, a broken bone, an infection, etc. All these chronic conditions are very simply malfunctions of the body, and they don't know how to reverse the malfunctions. So you're going down a dead end if you go to them. So what I'm saying is choose head to toe healing and get rid of the medical, because head to toe healing is going to prevent more stuff from happening, because everyone has something. I don't think there's a such thing as a 40-year-old without a symptom. There's
Mhm.
never met one. I mean, I'm the quote unquote expert, and I got 3 symptoms. On my analysis, I got 3 symptoms,
Mhm.
which is a great score, by the way. It means I'm a pretty healthy 45-year-old man. But it's not a 0, it's a 3.
Yeah. Well, will you expect for it forever to be zero, or is
Yeah,
that?
I just got to work at it. Maybe at some point when I put myself first and not everyone else. But I think I'll take it. I know people my age that are bad shape, bad shape. So I think I'm a pretty darn healthy 45-year-old guy, and you know I don't go to the doctor. I get my own blood labs. I look at them myself. Pay the money to stay out of the system.
Mhm. So we're nearly time for us to say goodbye for today. Although I think I could probably continue this conversation for a lot longer.
Mm-hmm.
What is one message that you want to share with the audience before we leave? What is one thing that you think, if you only, if this is the only thing that you take away, what would that be?
Acceptance plus appreciation equals inner peace.
And what expand a little bit? What do you mean by that?
That's the cheat code. That's the cheat code to inner peace. There's a lot of work we have to do with our computers and our skull, but people can use that as a reference point as they move through their day and through their life. Every time something happens and they feel triggered, just remember, acceptance plus appreciation equals inner peace. If you accept everything and you appreciate everything, it's not possible to get that triggered. The good, the bad, and the ugly of life, because it's always going to be there. There's always going to be the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's not possible for it not to be. So when you buy your new car, just know that someone at the grocery store is going to hit it with a cart. You know, when you get into a relationship, just know, you might get broken up with, just know that when you have a baby, they might have an ear infection. They might keep you up all night. Like, you got to accept everything. Don't resist
But
life.
that's a good question, though. When you look at babies, for example, that they come up with all these different conditions, would that be the same kind of treatment that you would do with babies as you would with adults?
Well, there's the nutrition for sure. As far as posture goes, babies need to crawl. That's why so many people have flat feet, because they're not letting the babies crawl anymore. Why? Because because parents put them in jail. They put them in these cribs, which is jail.
Yeah.
So I'm not a father, but if I had a baby, I would dedicate a whole room to that child, and I would let the room be their crib.
Mm-hmm.
Let them crawl around the room all day. Put a bed in the corner like you do the dog and let it sleep there. Don't your baby can't be trapped.
Yeah.
It has
Don't
to
restrict.
move, or the musculoskeletal system isn't going to develop correctly, because they're mostly cartilage. Their bones haven't developed yet. So they're more soft tissue than they are hard tissue, and it needs to develop. So, and then as far as the mindfulness, I mean, the best thing you can do for a baby is just, even though they don't understand language yet, but just play them positive music and give them affirmations and stuff like that,
Mm.
pray for them, stuff like that. But, so yeah, in a way, head to toe healing. We need a program, Levi. We need a new book on this for babies. Head to toe babies.
Well, I
Right
love
on.
this name, actually. It's a
I'm putting you right there. Dedication.
wonderful. Well, Dr. Reese, thank you so much for being here with us today. Head to toe healer.
Mm.
It's wonderful. I really, really enjoyed talking with you, and I think the message is clear, right? Come and have a go. Do the analysis. Take the membership. Find out, what exactly of the three parts: the muscles, the bones, the nutrition, the head, the mind. Which of
Yes.
these is out of alignment, and bring it all together to get into a healthier version of you. I'm really curious for the noise or the feedback that people are going to come up with, because it's it's incredible. It's incredible, and I'm excited for that. So thank you so much for being here with me today. And anyone watching or listening, please do like, share, comment, and yes, pass it on, share it on with people. The world needs to hear more about natural healing. It is possible, and Dr. Reese is a proof as well. Thank you so much again.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.